so happy that everyone who was attending the back to school webinar, we're so grateful that you jumped on with this webinar. So thank you for joining us. Um, this is so exciting to see so many people here. It's wonderful. And in this webinar, I had a couple questions asking what we'll go over. So this webinar, the purpose is just to go over the Family School Math and Language Arts programs that we'll be offering. So we'll be going through the lessons and showing you the resources that way. So that's the purpose of this webinar. And then we will also answer any questions that you might have. So Peter, did you want to say anything at the beginning before we jump in?
Well, maybe just that we're really excited to finally have it completed. We thought we would have it completed last year, but just to be totally transparent, we had to cut back significantly. We didn't have the funds to be able to move at the pace that we wanted to move. And as you know, in a nonprofit, it's largely, well, not largely, it is entirely donated funds that allow us to build the team that we have and build the curriculum that we have. And so we had to slow that down significantly, but we were able to continue to make enough progress where we can say confidently now that you have everything that you need for K-8 math and language arts in family school. It's a really exciting thing because it's the thing that we've been missing in family school. We've had wonderful history and literature and geography and science and art and music courses for 10 years now. And now we have math and language arts. And so it's comprehensive. We can now say you can get everything you need under one roof. Now it's the very first year that a lot of families will be using it. So we'll learn some things, we'll improve some things like any pilot curriculum. But this is as well designed and further along from a learning standpoint than any curriculum that we've ever developed. We've put a lot more pre-thinking into this resource. For an entire year, if not more, it was just research. It was the R of the R&D. And then development didn't begin until after a tremendous amount of research and looking at various programs and what's working and what's not, and what does the research say? Like, where is the research taking us? Because there's this huge debate in language arts, right? The whole phonics based versus I can't remember what the name of it is, whole language approach. Ultimately, this team, Carrie and Rachel, and a group of other professors at BYU and curriculum designers and directors and teachers settled on the Virginia state standards, which, that's where they're producing the best results. They didn't follow Common Core. They were one of 2 states, in fact, that didn't. And so we just went to the very best that we could find. And we researched what they were doing, and we followed their scope and sequence and built our own curriculum based around decades of proven results there in Virginia. And Nellie is shaking her head with some pride because she comes from Virginia. She knows they do it really well back there. So it is good. Like, it is really good academics. What we'll do over the next year and 2 years is we'll create a mastery-based program, an adaptive and mastery-based program out of this parent-led resource. But you're going to be the ones that use it first. You're going to tell us what's working and what's not for you in a home environment. And then we will do the same work to pull teachers into the studio and record them teaching the lessons, creating lots of interactions like they have with history, but we'll do it in math and language arts. And so they'll have a very comparable, fun and connected and motivating experience with math and language arts like they have with the other subjects. And so we'll come out eventually with a math program, a language arts program that has never been done. It'll be kind of like Khan Academy on steroids, because Khan, yes, it's self-paced and it's adaptive. It's not mastery-based, right? It doesn't tell you when you've mastered concepts, and the videos are very poor. It's a screen and you see somebody writing, you don't see them, and you don't connect with the teacher, and you certainly don't connect with other students in the experience. And so all those things that LiftEd is doing for the other subjects will do for math and language arts as well. And we're just really excited to be able to say we're moving forward now with that.
I feel like we should all just do some kind of cheer. Thank you,
It's
Peter.
exciting, right?
It's so exciting.
Really exciting.
This is so exciting. Thank you so much. And thanks again for all those who are jumping on and joining us. we're so excited to share all this that we have been working so hard on. And so thanks, Peter. So the remaining of the webinar, basically, I failed to introduce myself. So I am Rachel Davis. I'm the project manager for the language arts program for K3. And then we have Nellie Boyer, who is the project manager for language arts for levels 4 through 8. And then we have Carrie Nielsen, who is the project manager for math levels K through 8. So that's a couple of us here, but with that, how the webinar will go, I will go through and talk about levels K3, and then Nellie will talk about levels 4 through 8 with language arts, and then Carrie will talk about math K through 8, and then afterwards we'll open it up for questions. So that's kind of the format of this webinar. So we'll answer all the questions at the end of everything. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to walk through a lesson with you. And I've chosen to show, let's see if I can share my screen, a level 1 lesson. So I'm going to kind of walk you through that. Let's see. Can everyone see this okay? Okay, great. Let's see. Can make sure I have everything. Here we go. Okay, so when you log into Family School, you'll come to this dashboard. You'll go to course library, and in the course library, you'll see math and language arts. Like I said, I'm going to show you a language arts course or a language arts lesson. So look how exciting this is. We have K through 8 language arts lessons. I'm going to show you level 1. So you'll go ahead and just click in there, and you'll see a pop-up box. This is explaining basically that it tells you where to go and find more resources and to find more about the program. So it's telling you to go to the More tab, and then I'll talk a little bit more about the rest of what it is explaining here. But if you don't want to see this pop up every time you jump in, you can go ahead and click this box and it won't come up every single time. So there's that. But when you click into the level, so level 1, and when we talk about levels in math and language arts, it's as if it's grade 1. Okay, so first grade. So I'm going to show you when I click in that level 1, if you go to the More tab, there's several resources that you're welcome to go and look at and read through. And in fact, I encourage you to do that before you start any of the lessons. So I'm going to just walk you through and just point out a few brief things. So I'm going to open up the welcome letter here. And like I said, I'm just going to go point out a few things here, but I encourage you to go and read this when you have on your own time. So we focus on the following subjects in language arts here. So reading, writing, speaking, and listening. And within those subjects, we have phonics, phonemic awareness, fluency, comprehension, spelling, grammar, writing, vocabulary, memorization, and poetry, and then speaking and listening. And so we've incorporated all these subjects in our lessons. And you can see this is how the unit, this is how we formatted the unit schedule. So you'll see that each unit for K3 is broken up by 5 days. So the first and the third day are the same, and the second and fourth day are the same. And it's broken up into subject, like I said. So every single day they're getting reading practice and reading instruction. And then if you look through there's the components for the first and third day, all the components of the writing subjects, so spelling, grammar, and writing will be incorporated with also all the reading components on the first and third day. And then the second and fourth day, again, we still have the reading components, but also we've built in the speaking and listening. So you have vocabulary, speaking and listening, and the memorization built in. And then the fifth day, what's different about that is your assessment day. And that is where there's a spelling assessment, vocabulary assessment. There's some fun writing projects, and they will pass off and get a new memorization. And then if your child is struggling with some of the assessments, there's a lot of built-in review activities that can reinforce the things that they learned in that unit. So that's kind of a breakdown of the unit and how we broke it down. I'm just going to point out a few other things in this welcome letter. Something that's unique to our K-3 program that we're excited about is levels K and level 1. We have little readers, and every single lesson except for the 5th lesson has a little reader attached to it. These readers highlight a special, unique aspect of good character. And so that's kind of a fun thing that we've built into our little readers. Not only are they getting extra fluency practice, but they're also building on the skills and foundations they need to be able to read, but they also are learning a really unique and wonderful lesson on character. And then afterwards, we've provided some comprehension questions and also conversation questions that can be a really, really special time for you and your child to go through as you do these readers. And I mentioned only the little readers in levels K and 1, but in levels 2 and 3, we have passages. And so the same kind of format, but it's a passage and it's a little bit longer reading material. So that's the little readers, and I'll show you what that looks like as I go through. Our spelling, we've done a lot of research, like Peter said, and we have gone with this, the phonics-based spelling program. So your child will not get a list of words to just memorize, and they'll actually be able to learn the concepts of why we spell the way we do. We'll build upon the, we'll learn all the concepts, and then they'll be able to apply the concepts that they've learned throughout the spelling lessons throughout the week and be able to then do the spelling assessment. So that's something that's unique to our spelling program. Now with that, we will provide spelling lists, but it's not to be just memorized. Like I said, we'll build upon that and teach the skills and the rules and all the things behind that. So that's.
Hey, can I just add one thing? I was thinking when you're talking
Go ahead.
about Rachel,
Uh-huh.
because I think it's really unique for our families to understand that perhaps the reason it took us so long to do the research and to be developing this content, even to get it to its very first form, was because we decided to create a comprehensive program. There are so many programs out there, and you probably tried as many as I've researched, and found that most language arts program, the great majority of language arts programs, are not comprehensive. They have a great focus and they do a really good job in some areas, or an area like IEW, for example, is a wonderful writing program, all about reading, a wonderful teach your child to read program, right? And many others that are good, really good programs, but they haven't created comprehensive programs, including memorizations and writing, vocabulary and spelling and learning to read and grammar, that phonetics or phonograms. And so I just wanted you to know that what you're looking at right here is a complete and comprehensive curriculum. It doesn't mean that it's not weak in some areas. I think that it is, in fact, that will need some work. Nellie and Rachel, we've talked about some of these areas, and I wouldn't say weak, but they'll need to be built up a little bit over the first couple of years. Nonetheless, that is something very unique in the world of language arts. It's a beast. It's why most programs aren't comprehensive, because it's like 8 courses in one, instead of just a history course or a science course.
Yes, thank you, Peter. Thank you for pointing that out. And like you said, all of that's built into one language arts lesson, and that's what we've tried to do. And so I'll walk through that and show you kind of how we've done that. So thank you, Peter.
Yeah.
I was just going to point out a couple other things. And like I said, I encourage you to read this more thoroughly. The supplies for K3, we've just put the general supplies that every lesson, they need to come with a notebook, glue, a pencil, scissors, and crayons. And then if they need any additional things, we'll make sure that I'll show where that's found if they need anything additionally, but that is what they need to come prepared with every single day. And then just one thing that I love when I was teaching, something that I love doing, and that's what we encouraged here, is buying a 2-inch binder and putting all the things that, all the worksheets that they do, all of the things that they're working on, flashcards, to keep that in the binder and keep it organized. And it's a keepsake. At the end of the year, they can look at all the things they learned, but they can also refer back to concepts that they struggled with, and they can review those things. But also, it's a keepsake to see all the progress and things they've learned. So that's something that we mentioned here as well. Okay, going back, so that's the parent letter. There's a material list. I'll just open that up, but like I said, you can go ahead and read that more, but it basically reinforces what I was just saying as far as the materials go. This is the general materials, and this is just items needed for organization. So things that we suggest, like Ziploc bags for flashcards, the 2-inch binder, the tabs, and then just the additional things that you might need in the lesson. So that if you're going to back to school shopping, you can glance to that materials list. We have units at a glance here. And this, these are items to have on hand during the lessons, but every single level has this broken down. So like I said, if you want to go look at the kindergarten level, you're welcome to. So here's the unit, and then each of the lessons, the lesson title, the reader that goes with each of the lessons, the memorization. So if you'd like to go through and look through this ahead of time, you can see what memorizations they'll be doing the rest of the year. And yeah, so that's available. And then also shows with the memorizations when you'll be passing it off and when the next one is going to be introduced. And then our lesson objectives. So in that whole language arts lesson, these are the objectives that we'll be covering in that lesson. So, and that is through, I'm just going to point out a couple of things. That is through there are 32 units for K3. So like I said, you can see all of those. Okay, and then I had a question from the very beginning. I think it was Thane that asked this question. He asked about a suggested calendar. Let me point out really quickly, and this goes for all of math and language arts. You, and Tim kind of touched on this in the other webinar, but you're welcome to go at the speed that you would like. So let's say you'd like to go through the next summer and you want to go a little slower, you're welcome to do that. This is our suggested calendar. So we've mapped it out similar to Lift Ed, if you're doing that. So you'll see where fall break is, Christmas break, all of that. But we've gone ahead and just put for, and again, this is only for levels K3, what we suggest for you to stay on target. Let's say you're going to be on a family vacation and you need to leave on Friday. Try doing 2 lessons on Thursday. So this just helps you, and it is a great suggestion. But like I said, if you'd like to go a little faster, a little slower. Now, if you go a little faster, like Tim mentioned in the other webinar, 20 lessons ahead, we might have some problems, but try to stick as close as you can to the suggested calendar. So, okay, I think I've gone through.
Isn't it more likely, Rachel, that they could even potentially take 2 days on a single lesson?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And you do what's best for you, and you know your child the best, and it might be that you need to do that. And so the lessons are built it's very easy to do that. And so I'll show you what I mean by that, but it's broken up into pieces. And so if you need to have your child take breaks throughout the lesson, you're welcome to. So, okay, I'm going to show you.
Have you shared what the range is for the length of time a lesson would take? I mean, obviously shorter when they're younger and longer when they're older, but what is that range?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I was going to bring it up a little bit later, but we can talk about that now.
Yeah, sorry, you do it then whenever it's right.
Okay, you're fine. You're okay. So when you open up a lesson, so this is lesson 3, here's our title. Now here, I'm going to show you this preparation box. This right here, there's a resource list, and then sometimes it will show extra materials that you need. So the materials the general materials that I explained before that they need to come prepared with every day, like a pencil, all of those things, they need to bring that every day. But if there's anything extra, sometimes we need a game die or a spinner or something like that, or some extra pieces of paper. We would list that here. under the preparation. Now, under the preparation for these resource list, this is for if you want to go ahead and print everything ahead of time, you're welcome to go through all of these things and print ahead of time so that you're ready to go. Otherwise, all the things that you need to print is built into the lesson. So if I was doing it, I would definitely go through and print this ahead of time so that I'm ready to go when I'm doing these lessons with my child. So you'll also see a key there so that you can double check your answers if you need. So, okay. So the desired result, that's the lesson objectives. And that will be there for every lesson. And this is, like I said, it's broken up into pieces and chunks. So like I said, the phonics and spelling, I'm just going to kind of scroll through really quickly. I'm not going to read it word for word. These bigger words right here, that's this. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention, I'm sorry. This is a parent-led program. So your child will need your support. And what I mean by that is I encourage for K3 especially, they are just learning to read, and obviously in the lower grades like kindergarten, they're just learning to read. And so a parent will need to go through this with them, and especially, but the bigger letters, that's for the child. So that's just something I wanted to point out, that this is a parent-led program. You'll see in the lessons that there will be some fun things for them to try. So for example, this says read and say the word several times, listening for the ending sound, hat. What sound do you hear at the end of the word hat? And you'll check your answer. And this is fun for the child. They get to try it and see if they have the right answer. So you'll see that throughout the lessons. I'm just going to keep scrolling here. This is something I wanted to point out. So like I said, if you wanted to go ahead and print the worksheets ahead of time, you're welcome to. But as you go through the lesson, when you see this icon print and complete, you can go ahead, and that's when you work on the worksheet with your child. So just to give you an example, this is one of the worksheets within the lesson. And that's when they would do that, is when you see that print icon there. Okay, one thing I wanted to really point out, which is something I'm really excited about, is, like I said, the readers. So there's well, I'm going to go up there. There's a comprehension and fluency, which is their reading lesson. You'll go through that with them. And at the end of the reading and comprehension lesson, here we see that print icon. It says print, cut, and assemble and read a top kid. Now, if you were to click on it and look at it, you will need to print this out because, and I'll show you what I mean by that. If you look at this reader, a top kid, there are page numbers on these, and with the page numbers, they're off. You can see that. I'm going to show you. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for just a second. When we designed these, we didn't want you to have to go through tons of paper, so we did it double-sided. So there are 8 pages in their little reader, so it can be printed double-sided. So you're only using one piece of paper, and then you'll see that there's a straight line and there's a dotted line, and the dotted line is the dotted line is the one you're going to cut, and the straight line is the one you're going to fold. So when you cut, you'll just make one cut in the middle. And when you do that and you fold it, you'll have your little reader and the pages will be correct. So you can even double check with the page numbers and the little readers there. So just wanted to point that out if you were confused by the little reader and how that works. There are directions on there on the first few lessons of what you do, but just wanted to point that out with the little readers so that you can't just open it up and have the child read it. It will be mixed up a little bit. So
starting next year, so this year, you'll be printing a lot more. And there's just really no way around that when you're building something and using it while you're building it. But as soon as we have it 100% built, then for you who are really familiar with Family School, we'll put everything into a packet. There will be a level 1 kit that will include all the little readers and all the handouts that they might need, and dividers, and anything that you're going to have to print to use the program this year, we'll provide next year. on print, it'll be print on demand, but it also will package it in a way where, like Family School, you can just print the whole packet too. Or you can download the entire packet and do what Rachel's saying, which is a lot cheaper. And so again, we're not in the business of making money, and certainly not making money off of printed material. So if it's cheaper for you to print the packets that we provide, then you'll have those again next year. If it's not worth your time to do that, and you want to pay a little more, and it still will be very affordable. We just drop ship directly from Alpha Graphics to a local shipper here in Utah, and they're awesome, and they're quick, and they we don't mark it up at all. So we don't even take the money. Like, you pay them, and they mark it down to the price that they need, and there's no markup for us. So we receive nothing from that. It's just a convenience at that point.
Yep, exactly. Thank you, Peter, for pointing that out.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to the end of the lesson here, and like I said, just look for those little icons there. Now, one thing I want to point out to address what Peter was talking about earlier, we encourage you, and because it's broken up into pieces, if your child's getting a little restless, they need to go have a little break, do it. Go ahead and build in breaks within the lesson if needed. And the great thing about that is when you're in the lesson, you can click on this More tab here, and it can take you to the certain part of the lesson. So it's broken up by the pieces. So let's say if you did want to take 2 days on a lesson, or you wanted to come back and finish it in the afternoon, you can go ahead and just click on, oh, let's go to, we didn't get to the reading part, and it will take you to that part of the lesson. So you don't have to scroll through it. One thing also with this More tab that I wanted to point out, and this is for math and for language arts for K-8, this is available. So when you're in a lesson, there are two links here. So if you have a technical issue, like let's say one of the links are broken, it's not linked correctly, or you're having a hard time opening something like a technical issue, you would click Report an Issue, and you would fill out what is happening with it. And then because it's a pilot year, and because this is the first year with language arts, we are encouraging you to leave feedback and leave any type of feedback. So if you're in a lesson and you would like to give feedback, which we highly encourage you to do, go ahead and click curriculum feedback and fill out this. We would love that because we would love to go and make those changes if needed. And so wanted to just point that out, that More tab is available within the lesson. And when you if you do need some if you'd like to give any feedback or anything, I guess what I'm trying to say is it will then notify us and we can make those changes. So that's a little bit about K3. I'm going to go ahead and turn the time over to Nellie, and then like I said, we'll go through Nellie and then Carrie, and then we'll do questions at the end.
Awesome. Okay, thank you. I'm happy to be here. I am a literature major and just so glad that I can work in developing this program. I want to walk you through the 4 through 8 program just quickly. Let's see.
And she's not just a literature major. She's a literature lover.
It's true. And
right?
I have taught family school for years and years. And so I do love family school, but language arts and literature, this is where my heart is. Okay, so if you log into your parent dashboard here on family school, you can come to the course library and list all your courses. We've just done this with Rachel. Come to the language arts course, and then you can choose your level. So if I go to level 4, I get this beautiful notice the More tab box. I want to keep it on there because this More tab is excellent for anytime you're learning a new course or starting the curriculum. You want to make sure to come to this More tab. Rachel walked us through it so beautifully. But look at the welcome in the parent letter. look at the materials list, all these items here. And you can just see what your students will be going over, the books you will need, the memorizations, the final assessment at the end, just so you have an idea of what they need to do and what you need to be prepared with. We also have a suggested calendar for each level. And so you can look at this calendar, you can mesh it with LiftEd, you can mesh it with your family calendar and just organize yourself that way. Each of these lessons, oh, let me go for materials list. Here's our materials list for level 4. Again, all of this is found on the More tab. This lists the books and then the ISBN number. I typically buy my books from a used bookseller instead of straight from a new place. So I like the ISBN so that I can just look for the exact book and find it on whatever site I'm looking for. So hopefully that's helpful for you. Each of these lessons should take you around 30 to 45 minutes. Now, these lessons are a little bit different from K through 3 because these are geared to be student-led. Starting in 4th grade, the lesson is written to have the child read it. Like a teacher would be speaking it, that's how the child would be reading it. Again, so 4th grade here, you have your materials pretty laid out pretty easy. You can print them all here. You can also print them within the lesson as you're going through. We go through each of the areas, the desired results, your writer's notebook, and you can flip through and see what you would need. The word study or the vocabulary. When we get up to 4th grade, we're actually reviewing spelling rules, learning a few more, but basically reviewing what they've learned in K through 3, and adding upon that with a lot of new words and new vocabulary. This is let me show you here on the More tab, you can jump to whatever section. So this is like included in every every 4 through 8 lesson. We have the prep section, the desired result, writer's notebook, word study, reading, writing, and memorization. Now you can elect as a parent to say, you know what, I'm not going to do memorizations. We're doing that with a family. And so I'm just going to leave that off every time for my student, or anything like that. So you can choose something out of here that you're like, we're going to cover that in a different area. So this is flexible and it's meant for you to use it to benefit your family. So you want the curriculum to work for you. You don't want to work for the curriculum, right? So we're making this flexible and making this good. So 4 through 8 is based on literature. It's a literature-based language arts program. So we've tried within the writers and the designers of this, let's see, to come up with excellent literature, classic literature, literature that is taught on campus, that has been vetted and approved from American Heritage Standards. And we try to, we based all of our language arts upon that. So you can like just know that, and know that there might be some things in classic literature that are a little bit different and maybe not as normal for us today. Like the Spencer family read a Edgar Allan Poe story, and we know that he's dark and gruesome and tells scary stories, right? And we would love to hear more of your feedback, Spencer family. So this is a plug for joining our focus groups. But we also take beautiful literature that may have topics you as a parent might want to know about, and that's all listed in every lesson, and have great conversations. Again, this is your child's education, and we want you to be in the driver's seat, and we want you to be able to give your heart and your understanding to your children through the curriculum. So that's 4 through 8, and we can ask questions at the end, and I'll turn the time over to Carrie for math.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me? Yes.
Mhm.
Okay. Awesome. See, I have a cold, and so it's all messed up in my head right now. Anyway, I'm so happy to share with you a little bit about our math program. We, like Peter said, we have been working on this for so long, and it is finally here. Another fun thing that I just want to share before I get into any nuts and bolts. Last school year, I was able to work with a level 4 or 4th grade student, and we went through all of the lessons that were written in math. And it was so fun for me. I've been on the back end and helping create the lessons, and then I was able to go through the lessons with an actual student, and I was able to see how this program worked. And it was just so fulfilling to me. So I'm going to share my screen, and I probably won't go into a ton of detail. I can see that we're about 12 minutes away from maybe a lack of attention. So I'm going to share my screen, and we will just kind of go through. So I picked level 4 to show you today. Level 4, well, I guess we could go back. I'll go back to the course library. So you can see here, you've already seen this front page. You go to iMaster Math, click on it, and you'll see all of the levels here. So there's a lot of things I want to share. Hopefully I can get it all in. We'll just go to level 4. And again, this wonderful pop-up message. We want your feedback. If you have technical issues, please let us know. Basically, what we can start with math is we've divided it up into 5 areas of learning. We call them domains. You can see, so we have number sense, computation and estimation, measurement and geometry, probability and statistics, and algebraic thinking. Now, each level has those 5 different domains. So obviously in 4th grade, number and number sense might look different than it does for level 8 or 8th grade. We have written this curriculum so that K through 3 will need parental support. 4 through 8 will need less parental support. I can't say that a level 4 can just jump right in and do this all on their own. But we have tried to write it so that, you know, if you have a child that's very autonomous, they could jump in and do it. In the More tab, we've been talking a lot about the More tab. We have lots of different things. So we have our parent letter. I'm probably not going to go over the parent letter in depth, but you can click on there and it'll tell you kind of an overview of the curriculum. We have a scope and sequence. We have a weekly schedule, and on that weekly schedule are suggested math facts that the child can, that you can bring up and the child can practice. We're working on getting those math facts, those math fact worksheets on the website. So stay tuned for that. That will be coming. We have titles at a glance, just a lot of the titles of each lesson within each level. We have a materials list. We have a level 4 student handout packet, the assessment and the assessment key. So let me start with assessment. We'll just go ahead and click on that. Now, what these assessments are, they are an end of the year assessment. So here's our thinking. If you have a level 4 child and they've gone through all of the lessons, they would take this final assessment, and if they score 80% or better on the assessment, then you can feel confident that your child can move on to the next level. You can also see that there is a key so that you don't have to do any of the correcting yourself. And each level has this end of the year assessment. So if you're just jumping into this program and you have a 4th grader, what I would suggest is that you have your 4th grader take this level 4 assessment And if they score pretty well on it, like I said, 80% or better, then you can feel comfortable that they can move on to level 5. I'm going to jump into a lesson really quick. Each lesson is divided up in the same way. It looks a lot like language arts. You'll see a preparation section, and that gives you all of the resources that you need. There's a practice sheet. This is the homework after the child goes through the lesson, and a key. Now, each lesson also has an activity just to extend the child's learning of the concept for that lesson and vocabulary. Now, this is something really exciting that I love to talk about. Each math lesson starts with a Math in My World section, and that is just something to kind of get the child's feet wet in the concept that we're talking about. So what does this concept have to do with me? How can I apply it to me? So that's why we've called it Math in My World.
Hey, Carrie,
Yeah.
could I add something to that one? Because a lot of these families are coming from several years of integrating faith with academics, and they probably they may wonder why they don't see that in math, where you can still have a lot of that in a language arts curriculum, especially one that has a literature focus, like Nellie just shared. But it's not the same format. It's not like research, reason, relate, record. It's not that compartmentalized approach. It's embedded in the experience where it's natural, where it's appropriate, as it should be. And sometimes never, right? Sometimes in a lesson, maybe there's nothing there, and it shouldn't be even. And so we don't force faith into, well, anything. And so in math, what you'll find is that when you do see it, it's almost always in this section that you just covered, this Math in My World. If they're studying in a geometry lesson, circles and squares, well, you can see that we might make a connection to faith there, and it's natural, it's not contrived. So our hope is that nothing's disingenuous in how we connect faith with academics. And so you'll just see less of it in math, a lot less. And you'll see less of it in language arts. Again, that's very intentional. I've seen a lot of Christian, I'll just use air quotes here, a lot of Christian curricula that's really offensive to me, frankly, when a math program says it's Christian, and it's Christian because it says Noah had 2 hippos and 2 camels. How many hippos and camels did Noah have? That's not Christian, right? That's something that says it wants to be Christian. It's not, right? But when we make a connection to faith, it's genuine. And it's not just forced in there. We could have story problems about Noah, right? But it's not what you're going to find here. And it's not what enriches faith either. It's not what deepens faith. Okay, sorry. That was a little soapbox.
Hello.
Oh, interesting. Carrie, you're gone now. Can you all hear Carrie? I can't.
No, we can't hear Carrie.
But you're not muted, Carrie. That's odd. Your speakers are up.
Are you still connected to your AirPods?
Carrie, just jump out of the meeting and come back. I bet you that fixes it. It seemed really odd that it happened right when somebody else unmuted. So we'll get her back in just a second.
While she's getting that to work, we could talk about focus groups. There's some questions about that. Nellie, do you want to talk about that while Carrie's getting that fixed?
Sure. Carrie, you're sharing screen still. So just so you know. There you go. Okay, so we have 3 focus groups that we have for this year, as in calendar year. We didn't want to plan too far out, so we can stay flexible. But if you click on this link I just dropped in the chat, you can look at our dates. We have September 29th, November 3rd, and December 15th. We'd love for you to join all of them. And as you do the curriculum, keep notes, and we can have a great feedback session during those times. So the idea of this is a pilot year. We want to see how this lands with families and how you actually do it. And we love any and all feedback that you have, just so we can make the program a lot better. So we're very glad that you guys are here and interested and willing to go through this program with us so that we can improve it and make it better for everyone. So jump on that registration form, and it's just a couple questions, and we'll be in contact with you and to give you the link for the meeting and all of that.
Thanks, Nellie.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm
good.
back. Can you
Okay,
hear me?
awesome. Thanks, Carrie.
So sorry, my AirPods ran out of batteries. We've been on a webinar for a long time. All right, I'm going to finish explaining what a typical math lesson is like. Thanks, Peter, for drawing attention to the reason, relate, and record, and how it's a little bit different format with math. So after the Math in My World section, we go to the math lesson. And let me just say, we've organized these math lessons so that the child can complete it, the lesson itself, in about 15 to 20 minutes. We know that attention spans can be shorter, and we've tried to make it really engaging and have fun graphics and just very engaging for the child. So you'll see that this lesson is all about learning place value. And within each lesson, you'll see these blue boxes. And these blue boxes are drawing attention to something important, reinforcing the concept. The other thing is, after the concept is taught, we have a try this box. And it's just a way for the child to practice whatever concept they've learned with a drop-down menu and the answer. We have a sum it up section. We sum up the concept that was taught and make sure the child understands. In our record section is actually the practice. This is the homework that the child does. There are always 7 problems after each lesson. And these 7 problems are ranging in level of difficulty. You can see that the first 3 are always multiple choice. The next 3 are kind of a reasoning through why a problem might be true or false. And the last problem deals with a higher level reasoning, where they have to really reason through why a concept makes sense in this particular problem. In the enrichment section, there is an activity. And as I said, every lesson has an activity to extend the learning. And it's usually a little more fun. Maybe it's a game, maybe it's a treasure hunt, you know, kind of depending on the level. So that is the lesson kind of in a nutshell. I'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen. Like I said, in the More tab, you'll find all the parents' resources that you need. You'll also find a section in the More tab where you can print off all of the lessons that are needed for that particular level. So we're really excited to offer this to you. We've been working on it, like Peter said, for a long time. And as I said, I could put my seal of approval on it. I've been a teacher for a lot of years, and it's a really great program. I'm really, really proud of it. And I'm so happy that I was able to go through it with an actual student to be able to see the work that was done. So thank you.
Thanks, Carrie. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. We also wanted to announce that our next Math and Language Arts webinar will be Monday, September 25th. So we'll do another one where we can answer questions. So that will be, again, September 25th, and we'll let you know the link and the time closer to that date. So